Don't forget to lube your chain and put air in the tires. Hey bike farmers, thanks for clicking in. So this Trek Navigator is one of my favorite to have come through the shop. I took it in on trade the other day. This thing has been hanging up since the day it was born, I think. It has very low miles on it. It's very clean. It's ready to go. I suspect this is what a lot of you experience every spring when you pull your bikes off the hooks after you haven't been riding it all winter. You know, the tires are a little squishy, things are a little dusty. Is it working? What are the basic systems to look at? What should I do? Where do I drop the lube? How much should I put on? That sort of thing. This is very basic tune-up stuff. I'm gonna go through this bike and do those things. I can tell that the rear brake is rubbing a little bit, the wheel's not moving freely. You know, just little things like that. But what do you do about it? Well, that's exactly what I'm gonna do in this video. I'm gonna show you, so stay tuned. So yeah, one of the first things I notice is this rear wheel is rubbing on the brake. And the very first thing I'm going to check is I'm going to open the quick release. Yep, and it was very loose. So I just suspected that the wheel was in crooked. So I just opened the quick release and I'm just pulling straight up on it to make sure that the wheel is centered in the dropouts. And then tighten it back down. And we're still rubbing, but at least we know the wheel's in centered. And I kind of glossed over it there, but the quick release is open and closed, right? So when it's open, and then you can turn this side, it's like a nut and a bolt all the way through. So when it's open, like that, it's just flopping around and everything's loose, right? When it's closing, or when you close it, there's a cam lock and it squishes everything together. So to know how tight to have it, I always tell people, just when it's starting to push back, and this lever is starting to push back like that, when it's sticking straight out, that's usually pretty good. This one I'm gonna add just a little bit to it, just to add a half turn or so and squish it in there good. So now that we know the wheel's in straight, I'm kind of breaking my first rule here of lubing first, but you know, I just don't even feel like I can really work on this bike until I get this brake working a little bit better. But you can see it's really only pulling on this side and there's no tension at all on this side. So one thing you can do is these are linear springs. You can just kind of pop it out and just bend it back. Now be careful, good way to break things. And if you do that, yeah, now it's working. Hey, fixed. That's the cheater method. The other way is with these adjustment screws, and you can adjust the equilibrium of the brakes by using the tension screws, by either adding tension to this side to pull the system this way, or loosening tension to push it that way, or vice versa on the other side. Some brake systems only have one adjustment screws, a lot of the older ones, like cantilever brakes will do that. Most of e-brakes will have an adjustment screw and you can just tweak it quick. Get it as centered as possible. But I can feel in this brake system we want to lube things up before we go much further, but at least we got things moving pretty smoothly. And now we can get a good look at this rim and see that the rim is actually pretty true. You know, that's good enough. I mean, a lot of times on these bikes, if it ain't rubbing, it's good enough for most people. You know, on my tune-ups, and you know, if I'm charging money, I like to straighten them out a little bit more, but this one looks really good. Not too worried about it. So now typically, per the usual, I take the wheels off right away. But with this bike, since I'm trying to show you how you can do this at home, I'm gonna leave the wheels on. We'll tune this bike up with the wheels on, because I don't think I really need to take them off. It's always a good idea to check the skewer, which we already did. But at this point, you know, my method is cleaning, lubing, then adjustment. So I think now's a good time to just kind of spray this down. It's just dusty. There's not a lot of grease or anything like that. There's no real filth on this bike. So we're gonna go straight with my trusty Behold furniture polish. Just kind of hit the frame with it. I don't really care what it gets on. I see a lot of comments. People are concerned about it getting on brake pads and rims and that kind of thing. It's like, you know, it's not gonna make things too slick to stop the bike. It'll burn off before it'll do anything. So it's never been much of an issue for me. So once you get things sprayed down, You just wipe it off, and it's just like dusting your home. Hey bike farmers, I just wanted to take this lull in the action to let you know how much I appreciate that you've clicked in to watch this video. Now that I've been at it a little bit, I'm starting to learn why everybody's always asking for more. The AdSense money is just barely enough to make it worth starting a channel. If I want to sustain this for the long term, I'm going to need everyone's help. Now don't get me wrong, your attention is enough. Don't feel obligated to give more, but I've tried to make it as easy as possible. You can always click the super thanks, that's the heart with the $ in the middle of it, or consider a monthly membership. The monthly membership will give you a little star next to your name, and if you have any questions, you can ask them in the comments. I'll see the star, and when I see it, I'll definitely give you an answer. You'll also have access to a little more behind the scenes action that non-members can't see. With all that said, thank you so much, and let's get back to some bikes. This bike is kind of interesting. It's got what's called a rapid rise rear derailleur, where if you let the tension out, it goes up. Some people really like them. Some people think it's the dumbest thing on the planet. I don't really care. But right now the cable's as tight as it gets. I'm gonna loosen it without pedaling, which loosens that cable and allows you to disconnect that piece of housing right there. And that allows you to lubricate your cable. And I lubricate my cables with TriFlow Superior Lubricant. And I should really be sponsored by TriFlow because I use a lot of it and it's all I talk about. With that cable loose, you can get this one out of its happy home. Of course, all this is way easier when you have a bike stand. A lot of people also ask, what's a good folding stand? I think they're all fine if you're just using it every once in a while. I'm a fan of Park Tool. The Feedback Sports one is really nice as well. You can usually find them on Craigslist or Marketplace or something like that. People getting rid of them. I should probably put one in my affiliate links for you. So to get the rear brake cable, we can disconnect the rear brake. Do the same thing. Just get the housing out of its happy home. Grab your TriFlow. Just a little dab will do you. With these step-through frames, this loop here likes to collect moisture and rust out. This one's still in really good shape. This was definitely in an attached garage. Kept pretty clean, maybe a basement. Rear brake cable's done. Front derailleur cable, I shift all the way up, and then without pedaling, I shift it all the way back down. And that gives us access up here. This will give you a good visual on where to drop that lube. So gravity will kind of pull it down into the housing too. Gravity is your friend. And then finally the front brake. Don't forget to lube your noodle here. We'll reconnect that. And while I'm thinking about it, I usually do this right away. We can air up these tires. Everybody asks, how much air should I be putting in my tires? First of all, it says on the side of the tire what your mins and maxes are. It's a personal preference. Make them firm and then adjust accordingly. So if it feels too harsh, let a little out. If it feels too soft and squishy and you're working too hard, add a little. Then measure it, figure out what your favorite is, and if it's important to you, check it every time you put air in the tires. But with most of my bikes and my tune-ups and whatever, I just make them firm and I let the customer decide for themselves. With the cables lubed, we can lube these brake pivots. This I think is a really important thing to do. And I just drop a little bit of lube in there and then I kind of wiggle it up and down and back and forth and just let the TriFlow kind of suck down into that pivot. Then you can reconnect the brakes. And we'll check that brake tension. So once you lube everything, the brake tension is going to change a little bit. You know, if one of these was more gummed up than the other, that'll provide resistance for those springs to work against, and it won't be as even. And I want to note that aside from showing you the this tension screw on that other side, I haven't used any tools yet. This has all been done with my hands, or that bottle of lube is the only tool, really. You know, if you want to, you can manually add tension to the brake spring like I did over there and get that brake working really well just by feel. So let's see if we can do this whole tune-up without using tools. Okay, moving up to this front brake. Do the same thing. Just kind of drop some lube in the pivot there and work it around. Bend those springs out a bit. I just happen to know these brakes pretty well. They're pretty common Pro Max brakes. These are great. So we'll use a screwdriver. This is my Hosan JIS number 2 screwdriver that I absolutely love. I have a link, an affiliate link in the description. Go get yourself a set. I just added a little bit of tension to that side while I was talking there. Maybe I'll let a little out on this side so you can. You know, we're looking for equal movement on both sides. I mean, I don't think I can improve on that. But if I were to try to improve on it, I would use this barrel adjuster. So with the front derailleur here, relax the derailleur all the way, and I kind of pluck the string back here, the low E string, the front derailleur, and just make sure that it's not like super loose or anything. There's a little less adjustment on this cable. The barrel adjuster is up on the lever, but as long as it's not over shifting or under shifting, you're in good shape. You know, you have the limit screws, and it's pretty hard to explain, but it limits how far the derailleur will go to the high side or the low side, and the screws are always marked with an H or an L. This one you can actually read it. It says high and low. This is the high limit and this is the low limit. It's backwards. It's a little, I don't know, counterintuitive. But if it were over shifting to the high, you would tighten that screw in to limit where the derailleur pushes it. And if it were over shifting and throwing the chain in the inside, the low limit screw would need adjustment, and you'd turn it in to allow less travel on that derailleur. But that bike is shifting swimmingly. So these tires are basically unridden. They have all of their tread. This is designed this way where you have a nice center ridge and then knobbies on the side. Real smart tire design. You can see that some of the sidewalls are a little crunchy. I would advise my customer, it's up to them really. It doesn't concern me because this isn't going to cause you to get more flats. It's just that it's breaking down over time. But it's going to hold the tube in there, and the tube's what holds the air, and you're going to get flats on the dark stuff here. You know, the sidewalls aren't going to be an issue on this bike, so I would leave it, and I'm going to leave it. One thing you can do, get it spinning and hit it with the furniture polish, and it just kind of lubricates. You just let it sit. Get it all over that rim, freak everybody out. And I'll do the same thing to the front wheel. We'll just kind of let that sit. I think I'll wipe the furniture polish off the rims quick. Hey bike farmers, a quick note. If you're looking to get serious about fixing bikes at home, look no further than the Park Tool AK5 toolkit. I have an affiliate link in the description. This kit provides all the basic tools you'll need to tune up just about any of the bikes that you see on this channel. It also comes with the Big Blue Book of Bicycle Repair written by Calvin over at Park Tool. Also in the description are affiliate links for all the basic things that I use. The grease, the degreaser, the one step, the Dawn Power Wash, Behold. If you see anything else that I don't already have a link for, let me know in the comments so I can add it. I hope these affiliate links will help encourage you to take this on as a hobby or even start flipping bikes for a living like I do. Always a good idea to check your quick releases. And I forgot to do that in the front. So it's the same thing. You can see here, as far as how tight to make it. See how it's fighting back right when it's sticking straight out? That's my kind of go-to feel for quick releases. And you can really feel that cam mechanism lock it into place that way. And then I just double check the front brake, make sure nothing's rubbing. And I'm introducing a second tool here, but a 6mm Allen key. Just check your seat clamp bolt. I think that's always a smart thing to do. They like to loosen up. And then stem bolts. On some stems, this one's really accessible and you can tighten that one down. This stem, it's not. But they're nice, they're good and tight. Good and tight. You can use a really big adjustable wrench, but having a proper headset wrench to check your headset is a good idea if you have this style of headset. You can get at those crank bolts. It's a 14mm on this one. Yeah, I knew they were tight. I can just tell this bike was assembled really well. These are great bikes. But just in case, I'll check the non-drive side as well for good measure. Keep me honest. Yeah, very tight. Pedals, 15mm. Give them a good snug. And there you have it, guys. I mean, it doesn't have to be a whole lot more complicated than that. I mean, I essentially did that whole tune-up with a screwdriver, and it's good to go. Most bikes, if they're maintained and kept in a clean, dry place, that's all you really need to do to make sure that things are good to go. Oh, I didn't even lube the chain. Let's lube the chain. Squirt some Tri-Flow on there. And then wipe off the extra. There you go. Don't forget to lube your chain and put air in the tires. Oh well, sometimes it's the obvious stuff, right? But you get the point. It's not a big deal for most bikes in the spring to just give it a quick pump and polish, check the basic systems, make sure the brakes aren't rubbing, make sure things are shifting right, and you're good to go pretty much for the rest of the season unless something happens. So thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this content and want more, let me know in the comments what you like and what you don't like. I read them, so that's very helpful. If you watch to the end, that's the #1 way you can help this channel. Thank you so much, and don't forget to click that notification bell so you and your bike can stay tuned.